Okay. All right, party people. Here is, actually that side's cut too. I'm gonna start with a straight edge. Is that straight or is somebody else cut that? Oh my gosh, this is all, none of the sides are straight. That is wild. Maybe this side is. That's as close as we're gonna get. Okay. So yes, here's a chicken and we're gonna sketch it. Let's start with the center line. Okay, so Miss Foley, the part of the anatomy that is in the middle of the chicken is the sternum. And then that sternum comes down and it basically connects the whole rib cage. So have you ever heard of the wishbone? On the, like, do you know where have you ever seen the wishbone where people hold, it dries out?
Yeah, break it on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, the wishbone is right here at the, at the top of the collar. And it makes that Y shape. It's actually, yeah. So anyway, so that's the wishbone. And then that helps, like, I think the wishbone is the clavicle. I believe so, but basically what we're looking at is we're looking at the belly or the chest of this bird. We've got the knees, the drumsticks are basically knee to ankle. The ankles are tied together. We don't see any of the wing tips because they've removed those, but the part of the bones that we're seeing here are wings. And the wings, we're not seeing the drumstick part of the wing, which is actually the humerus. We're seeing the radius and the ulna. And if you're a wing connoisseur, they're kind of known as flats. All right, so the collarbone here is going to lead us into the pectorals, which at one point the chicken used to fly. And actually chickens can kind of fly, believe it or not. So let's just do that. This is the breast meat, this is the white meat, and we're going to see the side. I think there's like the center, and then I think it curls down the side. You can almost imagine the cut of the meat. It looks almost like a heart shape. I think the whole torso is sort of heart-like. That's the other interesting thing. Where the bait, like where the heart comes into the point, that is the belly. And it's not actually, it looks like these legs are covering it up. But if you take the legs off, that's the structure of the rib cage. So as I come in, at the bottom of this heart shape, and then you can attach this oval, this big oval of the drumstick. On one side, you can attach the oval of the drumstick on the other side. Those are going to come in and, like, again, they're tied at the ankles. So you get this ankle joint, on both of them. I wonder what happened to that ankle joint. It looks like something got broken. All right, that's good. Oh, I moved it. Stop moving. Should have taped it down. And then I wonder what happened here. My drumstick needs to come up higher. This really is the knee joint up here. And as the thigh and the knee are kind of squished, that muscle of the calf really swells out. And this is a pretty meaty bird here. And of course they would choose, a prime specimen for their catalog. All right, so we're going to see a little bit of the left side, more of the left side. And just like the same, you get a little bit of, I guess this is the thigh comes down a little bit, and then that leads into the tail. So there is when we're drawing birds, and I know that you know this, but when you draw birds, there's like a tail that is the muscle. It comes to a tip that, like, the bird can move around and manipulate the feathers that are the tail feathers. So if it's a living bird and then flying, the tail usually refers to the feathers. Where here, this little triangle, period down here, which is near where the cavity is open for the stuffing. So this is the cavity that you remove kind of the innards and you fill with stuffing, you fill with apples, and you put in the lemon. And I've seen in college, we actually stuck a beer can in the cavity, and then the beer, none of the alcohol came out, but the beer, the flavoring of it would keep the meat really tender as you baked it. It actually works really well. I'm kind of aware of the cavity here, and then I'm just going to use rectangles, I guess. Those wings feel very, the proportion of them, I feel like they, there's like clearly a short side and a long side and then another short side. And they might get a little bit thicker if you want to show some of the meat. Whoa. My bird is much wider probably than it needs to be. Julia, this is actually a really interesting reference too, because when people draw faces, I have this extra sheet right here. When people draw faces, they'll draw like the sides of the head, and then they'll put in the eyes, and then the nose, and then the mouth, and then the chin, and then the ears come out here. And what happens is that even if the proportions are exactly right, what oftentimes happens is that eyebrows, the amount of the face that you actually see is the front of the face. So if you can imagine, this is a person laying in a bathtub, and they're just sticking their face out. The amount of face that you see, I'm going to draw this water line. And this is where the face, the ears are under the water. And then this is just the part of the face that's sticking out of the water. So all this is, I don't know if this makes any sense to you, but like the most of the face that is visible is actually really narrow. And then even though the face is wide, you really generally have to shade it. And I'm shading the part of the face that's under the water, which when you're in real life is actually, kind of the shadow side of the face because it's moving further away. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying with the face is that there's the part of the face that you can see that's light, and that's really the front plane here. And then the head turns sideways. So front plane and then side plane, and the ears all the way back here. Eyes, nose, mouth. So usually the side of the head is in shadow there. Now, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because it looks as though my chicken is really wide, and my hypothesis is that actually maybe the chicken's not quite as wide. It's just I haven't indicated the shadows of the side plane. So I'm going to focus on some of these silhouetted edges, and then maybe try to just test it. I think my chicken is a little bit wide. Sometimes when it looks too wide, it may not be long enough, or it might not be tall enough. So I'm just going to make the top of my chicken a little bit wider. Excuse me, a little bit taller. All right, light source coming from the right. I'm just going to start putting in some tone. So I'm seeing the top side of the wing, and then the shadow side of that wing. I can see that oval that I used. You can think about like an egg. Think about just a regular, oh, that's funny, a regular chicken egg. So this will be in the light. And then the side of that leg will be shaded. Let's look for it on the other side. The right side is definitely light. So I can try to use a lighter line for the light side of the chicken leg, and then I will try to shade the left side, which is on the right side, it's the inner part of the leg. The cavity, is dark. And then the side, the whole side of this torso is definitely in shadow. I'm seeing like a little texture, and I can look for this because I eat wings a lot actually. There's these little, it's like loose skin sort of on the forearm. And there's a little bit of a texture, like a bumpy texture. I'm not seeing it on the right as much as I'm seeing it on the left up here. Make sure everything stays in focus. I'm also really attempting to I don't want to lay in the textures, meaning like the salt and pepper. There's a lot of salt and pepper on here, and I want to kind of save that to the end. I almost want to salt and pepper it separately. And then this part of the tail is definitely in shadow. It's not the most sightly. I might actually be happy with the chicken legs covering the ankles covering that up. There's a little, it's called kitchen twine, and they're used to tie the legs together. And that's kind of it could be, you could make that nice. I tried to make it look like a bow, and it looks not good. But somebody who could draw a bow nicely might make that look better than I am, at least. The light is coming from the right, so therefore it's going to be throwing a little shadow onto the ground, onto the cutting board. Now, I don't know if you're using pencil. Are you using pencil by any chance, or are you using your markers?
I'm just using pencil.
Okay, cool. So if you have your tortillon, this blending stump, which is nothing more than a piece of paper that's been tightly rolled. I'm going to try some of those lines. I'm going to try and smooth out those shading lines. Now, for some reason, and I never experienced this in school myself, but there are teachers that will discourage students from using the blending stump. And actually, no, I shouldn't say that I should not say that I didn't experience it. My whole first year, I was not allowed to use it. It's not that I wasn't allowed to use it. I just didn't even know it existed. This was like when I was in college. I didn't even know it was a thing. I really don't understand why teachers don't like their students to use it. I think maybe they become too dependent on it, or they don't use it properly, or maybe the teacher doesn't know how to use it. I don't know where the cycle came from, but I think it softens tones so nicely. And sometimes you need a soft textureless tone, like in the side of the bird here. Like I can't have a texture that's tonal because I need to save my darker marks for the pepper and for the chunks of salt. So I don't know how you would, I just don't know how you would accomplish your goal of showing the shadow side of the chicken and its, and the texture of the pepper and the crispiness of the skin on top if you didn't have this tool. And right now, since I've added some tones, it's hard to you have to like look through the seasoning and you have to like imagine it's not there, like kind of squint your eyes and just see where are the light parts and then where are the dark parts, and then where are the light parts, where are the shadow parts, and then where are the deep dark parts. And the nice thing about this picture is that there are dark notes both in the pepper, but more importantly, Where are the dark parts that are in fact shadow? Because maybe the pepper will use maybe like triangles or something. We'll use a separate vocabulary for the pepper than for, say, example, this little intersection between the knee, the rib cage, and the wing. So there is a dark note that happens there, but I want to make sure that that looks like a crevice in the bird and not a piece of pepper. And there's this dark part between the thigh and the belly of this chicken. Oh, cool. Very interesting. I kind of downplayed the tail region just because I think it's not particularly beautiful or interesting. You know, you want it, it has to be there because you got to, if everyone, whether they acknowledge it or not, they know what a chicken looks like. So they'll be like, yeah, that's a chicken. You're having turkey or chicken or whatever. So it's got to be there, but you really want to make the wings and the chest and the legs. You want to make the wings, yeah, basically the parts that people really eat and know and identify. You want to make those the main event. And so I'm even noticing that I may have like skimped a little bit on the size of those drumsticks. So I'm going to go back and clean them up, bring them up to kind of the status that they deserve. I mean, it's like a Renaissance festival over here. And you get into the habit of, you can lay down some pigment, smooth it out, put more pigment down, erase it. And you really become, I mean, I just like interchange the materials so quickly. Wow. All right. So I'm looking at the bird, and the salt on the top is the white, is the light part. So if the salt is light, then that means that's going to be the raw paper. I mean, that will be the paper. So why not? So I'm thinking that maybe every part of the chicken needs to have some kind of tone on it. And I can either add some white chalk on top, or I can like maybe erase. If I had like a fancy eraser, I could erase and make little white specks to look like salt. And it might not even look like salt. You know, some things translate really nicely. Some ideas translate really nicely into drawing and painting. You know, other times, you know, you put white spots on it and it looks like, you know, who knows, it looks like somebody spilled their rice on the chicken or something like that. Maybe hard to communicate it. This is so cool. I think I'm going to keep going with my pepper. I think I am going to pull out a little bit of the side of the chicken. Can you tell if I'm missing anything?
No.
And does it look like pepper? I'm like nervous that I haven't that I just hopefully it looks like. Maybe I should do some more mid-tones, make it look like it's burned up a little bit. Not burned up, but at least cooked. Yeah, there are some singed marks. Mhm. What are you guys doing in art now at your school?
We're doing, honestly, I can't. We drew pumpkins.
Nice. Do you want to see my? I feel a little embarrassed, but I am working on a pumpkin painting right now. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on, maybe my paper is not going to fit. Oh my God, Kristen,
What?
you have to call. You have to call Sean.
I thought we were doing it together.
We did, but we forgot about class.
Okay, well, you need to text him then and tell him we'll have to call him later.
Okay. He said he was going to call us.
Well, you should text him now.
I am. All right, Miss Paul, you're gonna freak out when you see this. Well, maybe not freak out, but did I not take a good picture of it? Oh, okay. This is where this isn't the whole thing. That is.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's that one. But I've since added a cat and an owl. Let's see if I can find that. I didn't take a picture of it. Ugh. Anyway, it's based off this beautiful fall photo that we found in and some like
Those leaves are
yeah, aren't the trees amazing? And the wall is actually really nice too. Can I see where you are?
yes.
Please. That's a nice chicken. All right, yeah, we're ready to move out. Let's see if I can figure this out. Move this up here. All right, so we're losing a little bit. Losing a little bit of room. But I'm gaining more function. Could I fit them where I want them? That's another question. All right. So I think what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to move from this wing, the left side wing. I think I'm going to come up and over. And I can't tell, I think this is rosemary. Do you think that's rosemary?
Probably.
I'm looking at the ingredients. It might be thyme. Yeah, rosemary is more like piney. I guess they're called sprigs. Sprigs of thyme. No, it's thyme. But they're like these little clusters. And maybe if I Google thyme, because those are so small. Thyme sprigs. Sprigs is a fun word. Sprigs of thyme. Excellent. Okay, great. All right, so here we go. This is what they look like. If I zoom in, they look like they have a long stem and then a burst. And each burst looks like basically a feather, like a nice feather, like one of those blade feathers. And they go all the way around. So here they look like they have been either dried, perhaps. This is what the whole thing looks like. So sprigs must be one of these things. Like, see how they're all cut right here? It's like a subcluster. This one looks pretty piney. This has the color. Yes. Now these ones look a little bit more like a arrowhead. That's interesting too. I like those arrowhead ones. They actually have like a center. Yeah, looks great. So somewhere, but the growth is the same in the sense that there is stem cluster, stem cluster, stem cluster, stem cluster, stem cluster. The neighborhood kids are going crazy today. All right, so Sean says we can text. I'll text him when he's ready. Still at work. 6 o'clock, I guess. And what I think what the artist was attempting to do, Julia, is that it's going to go from there's an arc that runs this way, and then that's like on a curve, and that curve kind of like spirals into the lemon. So that is part of the spiral here, where the chicken itself is on the vertical, and then this cluster of thyme runs horizontal. So there is there is, an attempt, I think, with the time to frame the lemons. So I'm gonna put the I'm gonna leave the chicken here so you can like at least see that side of it. And then I'm gonna start to sketch basically the next element, which is the next cooking component on this tray, which is the thyme and the lemon. I think that's like the next important thing. Okay, so we're gonna do this little arc, do some sprigs, and then I might do a cluster, stem, cluster. I'm thinking arrowhead. Maybe I shouldn't even do that amount of detail. I think I'm gonna hold off on the detail. Whoa, what if I did that? Okay, so then I'm gonna do the lemon here. And I can see the left side of this lemon. So when I put the initial circle for the cut portion, I want to find the middle pretty soon. And then we got the skin of the lemon. And then I want mine to fit. So, and I want it to be at a similar relationship. So there's, they're on a diagonal. So I'm just going to mirror image it. So here's the cut portion. And I didn't even think about it until right now. The hard part about the lemons, it's not drawing one lemon, it's getting the other one to look like it was they've got to be the exact same circle. Because they got to look like they were cut and then fell apart. At least we have a little experience with the lemon. We didn't cut the lemon last week. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. That's amazing. Okay, so the lemon is going to be somewhat easy. We got to draw an open inside, so we can draw a circle around that dot because they don't meet exactly in the middle. There's like there's like this little cavity right down the center. And then for there, it's we've got to make sure we draw the thickness of the rind. So it's the lemon rind, and I guess there's a lot of vitamin C in the rind, but you can't eat the rind unless it's organic. That's what I'm told. All right, so let's do the outside circle and we'll do the inside circle, which gives us the thickness of the rind. And I know, Julia, we've had to divide things into eighths before. Eighths are really nice in that you go half, almost make like a cross or a scope for a gun, and then you break those in half, one across the other. So there's 8 triangular chambers. Well, I guess they're not triangular, they're more like pie shaped. And this is more delicate if you're doing color. Because the lemon is so light. I mean, the yellow fruit is darker than the rind and the space between, but I don't even know how to do that. Okay, rind, 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 rind. It's so interesting how the skin was so big. I just drew it's too large. So I'm going to shrink that up and then try to turn the edge into a cast shadow. Meaning it's like the shadow, the shadow that's darkening up the wood of the cutting board. Now the skin is in shadow on that side. So there's its shadow. I'm telling you, I think there's two ways of thinking about this. The two ways of thinking about the lemon. One way is it's almost like we're making our own coloring book, where if we were going to paint this in oil, we would be able to use, white paint and yellow paint, and the pencil just doesn't draw super light objects very well. So there's that you can almost anticipate that or you can, like what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to lighten the lines, so make it so faint that the value, the lightness of the line, almost mimics the lightness of the fruit. And really the ground, the shadow that's caused by this fruit is very dark compared to the fruit itself. I can't even believe how light this fruit is. The lightning of that side really did the trick. I was really surprised. And that could have helped having a kneaded eraser where you could like stamp it. So I think I'm going to pick up a little bit of the grain of the wood. Maybe I made that the angle too shallow, but there's the wood here. There's the angle of the cutting board here. As I find the cutting board, I can now think about the texture of the grain of the wood. And it's going to start on one side of the lemon, and then it's going to emerge on the other side. You can actually see how the grain is consistent. There's a couple grains that look like they're arrows, but like this line goes underneath this lemon and reemerges on the other side. And wherever you have that theme, once you get the idea of what the grain of the wood looks like, you can keep it going. There might be some really thin ones, like where the grain comes really close together, goes light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. There might be other times when they're more spaced out. But whatever it is, make it the same above as it is below. I was laying this in, anticipating drawing the time on top of it. I was thinking if the grain was already there, then you put the darker herbs on top, it might work. Sprig, cluster, 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 cluster. sprig, cluster. And it gets so dark, the pile gets so high, that it's just, a huge, dense moment of leaves. There's this interesting one that's kind of curly. I can't believe how I almost left out this shadow on the far side of the lemon. So I moved the lemon around so it fits on my page, but I didn't change the light source, which I think is important to, see, acknowledge. Smoothing it out. Oh man, I didn't even see that up there. There's a lemon way up here that's cropped off. All right, so I've earned the right now to do the sprigs. I may have initially got kind of excited about the sprigs. And I want to do the same. I don't want to do the same thing over and over again. I want to do a similar thing. So I want to draw the sprigs and the leaves, but I'm okay with them. I want to draw them in a similar way, but I don't want them to be exact because then it'll look almost inorganic. So it's like they should all be themed and then varied. Oh, look, there's a rogue. There's a couple rogue sprigs over here that those are laid in going the same direction. Actually, that's not a sprig, that's a stain. That's a part of the wood. But this one is laid in going the same direction. It's very interesting. As the grain of the wood runs this way, and this one sprig is echoing that direction. Now, as far as my sketch goes, I love drawing fabric like this because it's like the contour line of a landscape. It's like water. Seeing those lines, like light to dark, light to dark, light to dark, you can really get this a really interesting feel of what the fabric is actually doing. So there's this edge right here. And there's another edge right next to it. So there's not that many lines, if you think about it. There's the edge, and then there's a little bit of an edge up here next to the marble, which isn't shown on my drawing. And then there's this little dip in here. I love that. Okay, so as I draw it, I got one line that comes here, and it comes up and it goes over the waterfall, underneath itself, and then reemerges concave, and then turns the corner and goes convex again. So it's the river runs down, now falls over, curls over itself, reemerges under, hits this, hits like a little bumper, and then goes back down. And some people think doing this might seem tedious. I mean, I just love form, and I mean, you have to draw like this. Even you have to draw like this, even if it doesn't stay that way. So like, for example, with this chicken, I mean, the equivalent to this would be, the little bump of the sternum, and then it comes up, it goes over the round part of the breast meat, and then it tumbles down the side of the rib cage. So it dips down, it rounds up, and it goes down the side. And if you laid a rag on top of this, if the rag would come over, it would go down, and then it would go up again, and then it would come back down again, on that wing. And you would just repeat it, like that's how it would go up, across, and then down. This thigh would come from underneath of that thigh, would roll up across the shin, hit that tibia, turn into meat again, the calf muscle, go down the side, and then they curl under. They're called bracelet lines, and you need them to think you need them to think like an artist. And so when a photographer gives you a cloth that really is effective at describing the form, it's almost like it's a free answer. And not only is it a free answer, but then you don't have to be subtle about it. You can just make it a striped rag. Of course, there still can be tonality. There's still like this little shadow on the rag from the cutting board, but it doesn't change what the stripes on the rag are doing. If you make the rag stripes thick, you have less of them to draw. If you make them thin, you got more. Is it time for their dinner, Kristen?
Yeah, just ignore her.
Okay. Goes down, over, under itself. Is Bale still up here, or if you go downstairs? Oh, Bales, did you come all the way up here? Hold on, Julie, I gotta get my dog. Look how strong you are, buddy. Good for you. Come on. Oh, yeah. Good boy. Good boy. You made it. Good girl, Balance. Don't be jealous. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, we love you. We love you too. Good girl. Okay, dogs. Oh, wait, now he goes back downstairs. So I took a little, not a break, but I went and messed with the dogs, and now I can tell that my line work went a little heavy, and that's natural. Whenever you get amped about a particular component, I wish. So I may have to see these lines I'm putting in here. I'm adjusting my pencil pressure so that it's not as heavy and they're just like grayer. And I wish I would have done that this whole time, but whatever. Ooh. This is my experimental moment where I can try to draw the veins in the these soft tonal veins in the marble stones, granite, whatever, it's granite, marble, whatever. Countertop stone is, I think, so beautiful, and it's where really beautiful rock formations can, live with people on the day to day. I collect rocks. I love rocks, but you don't have them. Beautiful rocks, that is. You don't really see them that often, but they do serve a function for countertops and kitchens. When I say serve a purpose, I mean they like hold plates and you set things on the countertop. What else would you use a countertop for? I cook on my countertops. I don't know what you do, Kristen. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. Okay, that's what I was going to do. Let me move this back down. So I got my rag, I've got my lemons, and then I'm looking for my knife. My knife and my cropped lemon. There's the sharp part of the blade. And then the structure, like the support part, which is the thick part of the blade, is the straight part that's in the back. And that metal leads into the handle, and the wooden grip goes on top of that metal. It basically thickens the metal so that it fits more comfortably in our hands, like the palm of our hand. If the metal blade just went straight down at its own thickness, we wouldn't be able to grip it as well. And it is a light blade up against this narrow shadow. So there is a shadow on the tabletop. And I think we should overemphasize that shadow so that it's clear, and I will diffuse that. So the edge where the dark line meets the white of the paper, that's the blade edge. And all the dark area below it is the shadow. Now I'm going to pull out, there's our lemon from last week, and its lighting is the same, which is like a miracle. Oh no, it's not a miracle. It's like what I said before. The lighting from in this photograph is similar to the lighting in my studio. So that works. The lemon is cropped, so there's nothing wrong with cropping it off in your drawing too. If you needed more information, it's good to grab another reference, and the drawing from last week did a nice job. So for me, I got so much knife handle here. I really want I'm actually drawing the lemon from last week. The shadow side, really dark side over here. And then it throws its shadow onto the knife blade. How about that for cohesive lessons? Totally unintentional. I think we draw food in this class so often because it's so close to dinner. We've got our lemon sticker from last week. And then a lot of those dots. I didn't use any dots on the lemon that we did from the photo because it's too small. But knowing what we know about the lemon from last week, we can do that now. Wow. That did it. Maybe I'll make this turn the corner too. So Julia, I will make you a promise that we will not draw food next week. Mm. Now, what's more in this picture? I guess the only other thing that we need, the right side of the picture is very calm, actually. There's this really a beautiful triangle that's formed by the corner of the picture and the cutting board. It frames out that marble really nicely. And then look at this other triangle that's created by the lower right hand corner. I mean, that's remarkable. And I wonder, because it's in the corner, this is the corner of the book. I wonder if this, that they just kept it really simple up there. And then this is the dominant vertical. Clearly the vertical of the dominant vertical of the whole composition is this bird, the shadow of the bird running through. And I'm wondering if like the knife and then the edge and then the handle and then the other edge, if it kind of keeps you circling around the picture. Like this, down to here, into here, up again, in, across, and down. I don't know. I'm looking for some kind of design themes. This lemon that's cut in half reminds me of both of those legs. There seems to be a theme of two. You have the right leg, the left leg, the right wing, the left wing. You have two lemon cuts. You have two clusters of thyme. And then, then there are some isolated images too. So you have this angle of the knife, plus the angle of the handle, plus the angle of the, yeah, I think that is a thing. Like all the food is kind of framed by the knife, the cloth, and the handle. So it's like 1, 2, 3. I put my finger here, put that there. Yeah, but it's kind of neat. As my chicken, this half of the chicken goes in here, I did not notice I hadn't even gotten to the grain of the wood when I did my chicken. So I may attempt to put that in there too. And that shadow is way bigger than I may have given it credit for. The shadow almost encroaches. I don't think it does, but it almost encroaches on the time. It definitely covers up the time on the right side. Or the right side time. The time in the middle. All right, can I see where you are? Are you getting close? Are you getting close to being done?
I think I'm close. I just have like the last lemon.
Oh yeah.
I can see if it's in frame.
Yes, that's really nice.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. Yeah. All right. I guess the last thing you need is to just put the whole thing inside of a frame. If you need, you may not even need to. Are you going to be back or should I just meet you down there? We got that call at 6.
Here.
Okay. Now this is the other thing. It's like, well, is there anything else we could put in there? So that lemon needs some work. And the knife, the knife is in shadow, but even the tip of the knife that isn't in shadow goes a little bit darker than the bottom. So the knife near the handle is really bright, really bold. Oh my gosh. I hadn't even noticed that. I'm doing this over here, by the way. The handle itself throws a shadow, onto the table. Whoa. Julie, what do you need to see? What are you working on right now? Are you working on anything in the image? Like in the screen?
I can see the whole thing.
Okay, good. Is that, do you need to see that or is there anything I could crop off?
No, that's okay.
I'm actually gonna do the handle. I'm gonna put the handle. Handle over here. So the line work between this edge of the handle and the marble you know, it's almost the exact same value. You see how this line almost disappears? And yes, the wood you can tell is a different color than the marble, but they're both so light. If you squint your eyes, this line disappears, separating the marble from the. So as you draw this edge, keep that edge really light. And then, you know, you have two edges on the other side because one is the top and then the other is the bottom. So it goes a little bit darker, which is fine too. And then the wood, you see the inside of that handle. So it's a thickness. And then it is throwing a little bit of a shadow onto the marble below. This is how it's looking. My cutting board. I just took the chicken out. I don't know how I'm gonna add it on there, but maybe to the other side. Oh, I guess I could squeeze it in. Maybe not. Oh, that's not gonna work. Well, you got a private lesson today. That was good.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's other people registered, so I'm gonna keep it going. I think people are getting, you know, used to going back to school. But let's see if it picks up. I think art lessons, Zoom art lessons, I think are the only form of academic classes that are going to survive, I think, like on Zoom in a substantial basis. I think just because there's so few good art classes, and I think, you know, I think kids are kind of fed up with doing Zoom school. But with art, it works so much better. Where am I going to put this chicken? Whoa, oh my gosh. That would be weird. No, that doesn't work. So I don't, this is how I oriented it, Julia. Look at the, so this one, this is oriented this way. And I feel like that looks good. And then this one is oriented this way. And then I was thinking, what if I made them both, what if I just kept adding more things to the table? Like with that, it doesn't work because the light source is different. The angle's a little different. I'm if I cut this out, maybe I can put it down here. I don't know. But then I'd be cutting off part of this handle. Let me try something. Please hold. Does it fit? Could it fit there? I'm gonna have to add other things, but
Make a feast.
yeah. I pulled this line down. I actually think that might work. I got some double stick tape. Stuck it to the book. All right. We got something. It's gonna, if it's gonna work, I need more work, but I think that goes for everything. I got another pair of scissors too. It's okay. All right. That's crazy. I can't believe this. That's wild. All right, what else is it? What else could I put in there? I could put another dish. There's other dishes in this book. Oh, look at that. Look at that roll. Look at baguette. That baguette might be
Some
nice.
bread.
This is the short ribs. There's some. Oh man, we could have drawn this one. This one would have been beautiful. Hold on a second. Would this even have fit? This might have even fit on the screen. I don't think I've ever seen this one. That would have fit. We could have drawn that one. I love the asparagus. Drawing asparagus is gorgeous. Mashed potatoes are easy. I also like drawing slices of things, like slices of meat, or there's one that's like a sliced chicken that I did with adults like a year ago. And they're just they're very, for art purposes, they're very useful. Like there's a top plane, an inside plane, and a side plane. They make cubes and then they're distinctly different. There's like the grain of the way the fibers grow. I don't know, it's actually kind of nice. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, what could we add to this thing? Add like a little, what if I just added this little plate of asparagus up here? But then they'd be huge. I could do a little plate of asparagus up here. I like asparagus. And the plate would go like this. Looks about the right size. Oh, the marble is going this. The marble had a grain that was going this way. So whatever I put in, there's got to be a countertop. Oh, there's a wine glass in that corner. That would be good. That can be the shadow. Wine glasses usually throw really interesting shadows. Because they're not really shadows, they're like kind of like transparent glow. All right, I got asparagus, I got wine. What about something for the bottom right-hand corner? Let's look for some references. I did that one. Chicken pot pie. This is a chicken pot pie picture. That's interesting. There's nothing I can use for that lower corner though. More casseroles. Ooh, this is good. What do we have here? Big ziti. What's in that corner? I don't know what that is. What do you think that is down there?
Do I have time to
Another
open?
wine glass?
Oh, shit.
Ooh, there's Parmesan cheese. Look at the Parmesan cheese in that corner. Yes.
That looks good.
Yeah. That I could do a mirror image of that. I mean, you know what I could do too? I was just thinking about it. If this is the picture, I could do a bunch of the seasoning. Like I could put a little bowl, like a little bowl of salt and pepper over there. But the Parmesan cheese might be really great. I could put the bowl of seasoning here. Parmesan cheese over here. I feel like I just made the chicken look really small. It looks like a Cornish hen. Okay, so your final, and then we got it.
Yes.
And then we'll go.
A lot.
Stop the share.
Wondering how to fit this.
Share. Dude, that is epic. That is
Thank you.
epic, as well as all of your other characters. Is that Garfield?
Garfield. I got two Goofies. I got an Odie.
Will you show me your Goofy? Were you doing like
Didn't
the
do his
full,
body. I
the
just did
full
his head.
figure or the?
and
Oh
like a
yeah, yeah,
noodle.
yeah. That's a good one. Okay, sweet.
Thank you.
Yeah, crushed it. You crushed it today. All right, thanks, man. I will see you next week. Hopefully
Thank you.
hopefully we'll have more kids.